I'm the CEO of Savannah, and I'd like to tell you about our very exciting Mina de Brosso lithium project in Portugal. As the title suggests, it's Europe's leading conventional lithium project, and we believe it's going to play a significant and strategic role in terms of underwriting the strategic supply of lithium, this vital battery metal, to the fast-growing European lithium-ion battery industry, which will go to support the development of the electric vehicle industry in Europe. As well as that, we believe that's going to be sort of a vital prerequisite to the development of if you like, a lithium industry hub in Portugal, where the sort of upstream elements of production will sort of foster the creation of new industry in Portugal itself. Moving on, just by way of introduction, we're listed on the London Stock Exchange. We have a market capitalisation of around about 28 million pounds. We're relatively modestly capitalised. We've been actually quite well researched. There's recent analysis and research that's been issued by FinCap, by WH Ireland, and last year by SP Angel. One of the, I suppose, the key aspects, I believe, to our company is the very sort of strong commitment of the board in terms of cash investment. And as you will sort of see there, there's a very sort of significant cash investment made by the company, by the company's directors over time. Just by way of introduction, as I mentioned, I'm the CEO. I'm supported by a very, very able executive team. Dale Ferguson, a gentleman I've been working with since the early 2000s, Michael McGarty, our CFO, and have a very able in-country team, both in Portugal and for our Mozambique project. We've also assembled, I think, a world-class team of consultants, and we're particularly looking to sort of bring on board all of that expertise and knowledge that's been built up around lithium in Australia and bridge that and really bring it to Europe. And just down the bottom of the screen, you can see some of the consultants we've engaged with. In the last 6 months, it's been a taxing and trying time for all of us, whether personally or corporately, but we've maintained a very fast tempo of activity as we look to sort of bring Mina de Brosso forward into production in late 2022. One of the key milestones for this year has really been the submission of our EIA, which has now been lodged with the Portuguese regulator. We've formed a partnership with one of the EU's public-private partnerships, EIT, InnoEnergy. We've been doing a lot of research work as well through EU-funded programs to produce lithium hydroxide. We've commissioned a very supportive report by the University of Minho in Portugal, which has sort of shown that this particular project will have very sort of profound economic benefits to both Portugal and to Europe. We've also moved forward our other subsidiary projects, our project in Mozambique, and of course our project in Portugal, in Oman as well on the copper side. But I'd like to talk to you really more about our project in Portugal itself. Where we're at the moment is we're in the process of completing our DFS, which is sort of working off a very sort of strong platform that we built with our scoping study in 2018. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking to be in production in 2022, which we believe will sort of coincide with a major increase in demand for this strategic metal. One of the things I've been working on very hard with our team is looking to develop an offtake, or in other words, a customer relationship for the acquisition of our product, which is the spodumene concentrate, which actually contains the lithium itself. We're talking with a significant industry counterparty, a European industry counterparty around that at the moment, and we believe that that's going to be a very significant milestone, both for the project and also from an equity capital markets point of view. One of the great aspects of our project is we also have significant co-products as well, feldspar and quartz, and we'll be looking to develop an offtake around that as well. On top of that, we're looking to bring on board financing partners. These will probably be European industry partners themselves over sort of the coming months. In parallel with this, we'll be working forward with our EIA, with the Portuguese regulator, and we hope to have that wrapped up sometime in between the next 7 and 10 months. Again, in parallel with that, we're doing our definitive feasibility study and doing a lot of parallel work around metallurgical test work, and particularly test work to sort of prove the suitability of our material to produce lithium hydroxide, which is this very sort of vital chemical that goes into the production of both the electrolyte and the cathode in lithium-ion batteries. And as well as that, we're looking to continue our very sort of deep engagement with the local community and local stakeholders around a comprehensive benefits sharing plan. Just by way of a little bit of background, we sort of see, and I think most industry commentators see, exponential growth in take-up of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are sort of clearly powered by lithium-ion batteries, and globally we're looking to demand for lithium going up by a factor of about 10 by 2035. So demand is actually very elastic. Supply of the material is relatively inelastic. There has been a financing and development moratorium over a number of years, and we believe that our project, being relatively shovel ready, will be in production in 2022, which we believe will sort of see a sort of a major uptick in demand and improvement in price. Here in Europe, we're looking to sort of see a major increase in electric vehicle demand. The bottom right-hand slide actually sort of demonstrates that aspect. And as you can sort of see, demand for lithium carbonate equivalent, which is sort of the industry measure of these matters, is going to go up from something like 50,000 tonnes per annum in 2020 this year to over 200,000 tonnes per annum by 2025. So a very major increase, and we should be able to supply something of the order of 30,000 tonnes of that requirement. This is a pretty important slide, and it really sort of shows the sort of lithium marketplace, particularly or here in Europe. You can sort of see at the top of the slide the electric vehicle sort of producers, and down at the bottom of the pyramid, the actual suppliers of the raw materials. There are no mines in Europe at the moment supplying, and there's sort of clearly a sort of very major requirement on the back of this sort of mid-tier range of lithium-ion battery sort of producers. People such as SK Innovation, LG Chem, and Northvolt, LG Chem, so some really major producers who will be developing battery plants here in Europe, and they'll be keen to sort of source their supply of lithium from European producers. So what's going to sort of drive that take-up? It's emissions legislation. There are concerns which I think have been sort of highlighted over this sort of period of the medical emergency around looking to sort of shorten supply lines. The European Union is very sort of keen on directing a lot of the funding recovery towards green initiatives, and this is directing it towards the development of the EV industry here in Europe. The EV industry is going to be absolutely sort of vital for European industry. The European EV industry should be the second largest in the world globally, behind China and ahead of the United States. So this is really very sort of key to the economic well-being of Europe. It's also a wonderful opportunity for Portugal as well, and Portugal is looking to implement its own recovery plan, and lithium is very much the centerpiece to that. And there's a real opportunity for Portugal to really develop its mineral endowment in a sustainable and responsible way, and develop a whole new industry for the country. We're also sort of seeing financing come to the sector now. There are some recent examples of that, and we think this is the start of a sort of a major investment push for the development of new mines to meet this surging of demand. I think one of the sort of the key aspects as well for the development of a lithium mine in Europe is the fact that we will be producing green lithium. We will be sourcing the power for the mine development from Portugal's existing electricity grid. Something like 55% of its power is actually comes from renewable resources. People like Daimler-Benz are looking to ensure that their supply of raw materials comes from sort of green sources, and from sources which have minimal carbon sort of footprints. As a result of the lithium that we will actually sort of produce, we could eliminate something like 100 million tonnes of CO2 equivalent emissions from Europe's transport sector over the life of the vehicles that are powered by lithium in lithium-ion batteries sourced from Portugal. Just focusing in briefly on the project itself, it's in northern Portugal, in the northeastern part of Portugal, and we believe that the northeastern part of Portugal will become the major lithium producing region of Europe. This will be a real lithium powerhouse, and will be a hub for probably a number of mine developments, of which ours will be the first. We have an existing granted 30-year mining license, and we're currently seeking approval to expand the scale of the operation to include the production of spodumene lithium concentrate. This is a little plan of the mining lease itself. We've probably undertaken one of the most active exploration and resource definition programs undertaken in Europe in recent years. We've drilled over 30,000 metres of holes, over about 300 drill holes in total, and proved up a resource of around about 27 million tonnes, which is the largest spodumene lithium resource in Europe itself. This is a little bit of a plan of the layout of the mine development. We'll be developing a sequence of 4 relatively small open cuts, which will be progressively rehabilitated over time, and we'll be developing a sort of conventional drill, blast, crush, grind, flotation plant in a small niche area well away from the local community, and out of eyesight and out of earshot. The project, as defined, has very appealing economic characteristics. This was based around the much smaller resource as it was a couple of years ago, but nevertheless sort of showed very, very attractive post-tax IRRs of 48% and very quick paybacks of 2.1 years. This is going to be a very significant mine in terms of what it can actually do for Europe. We'll be able to power something of the order of 300,000 Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, and each one of those vehicles will have around about 50 kilos of lithium in them. And over the life of the mine, this will allow the European transport sector to avoid around about 102 million tonnes of CO2 emissions. So there are going to be some very sort of major environmental benefits flowing from the development of this project. We're looking to be in production in 2022. It's around about a 9-month construction period, and this sort of briefly sort of outlines some of the key elements in taking the project forward with that deadline in mind. Very quickly, just to try and put the project in context, and particularly from the point of view of the volume of concentrate we'll be producing, will be probably the sort of largest producer of spodumene concentrate in Europe. Our operating costs are compare very favourably with our industry peers. And the level of capital intensity is also very sort of favourable, particularly in comparison to our European peers, and certainly comparable with our African peers as well. And our market capitalisation is certainly sort of very modest in comparison to both European and our US peers themselves. Just briefly, we also have a additional project, a world-class heavy mineral sands project in Mozambique, in joint venture with Rio Tinto. It contains a world-class resource of over 4.4 billion tonnes of material, grading at 3.9% total heavy minerals. And we're taking this forward in joint venture with Rio Tinto at the moment. And we're in the process of winding up a pre-feasibility study, which will help sort of define the route forward for the project, and will incidentally take our interest in the project to 30%, ultimately taking us to a 51% interest. And here are some of the sort of the key metrics associated with the project. Because of time doesn't allow for too much more, what I might do is just go to some of the key points here. As I mentioned, it's this is a sort of a key project for Europe. We're strategically located close to Europe's very fast-growing lithium-ion battery production hubs. We believe there are strong market fundamentals for the take-up of electric vehicles, and I think Tesla and the increase in its market capitalisation over the last couple of months is testament to the fact that certainly the global equity capital markets do believe this thematic, and for every electric vehicle sold, there's something like 50 kilograms of lithium. So if you believe in Tesla, you should believe in lithium itself, and we're going to go into a lithium supply deficit in the early 2020s, and we believe our project is perfectly placed to help very modestly at least supply part of Europe's requirements. So Roland, thank you very much.
Get for questions. You spoke a lot about Europe and being close to European manufacturers. I've had a question in here talking about global supply chains. Does it really matter being in Europe, or how much will the manufacturers care about that? What's the importance?
Well, I think the fact that we can demonstrably prove that we've got a very low carbon footprint. Daimler-Benz is looking to, I think, be carbon neutral. I think by something like 2035. So they'll really be investigating all their upstream suppliers of raw materials, and they'll prefer those suppliers with the lowest carbon footprints. Taking lithium from, say, Australia, having it processed in China, and then shipping it to Europe has its own sort of carbon footprint. And of course, production in Europe, I think, with these sort of shortened supply links, provides a lot more sort of certainty and reliability of supply of this vital strategic metal.
And so then, could you say what percentage of Europe's potential demand would you be fulfilling?
Here's something like 15% of Europe's lithium-ion battery requirement for lithium in 2030. Modest, but certainly it will have significant top-line impact for our shareholders.
And you spoke of offtake arrangements and trying to find a partner there. Would that be the auto manufacturers or the battery manufacturers that would be a potential tie-up, or both?
Well, both really. In terms of that inverted pyramid, really anyone within that inverted pyramid is a potential industry partner for us. But certainly the OEMs or the EV manufacturers, the battery manufacturers, and the battery chemical manufacturers are the sort of the natural sort of candidates to be a partner.
And are they doing those sort of deals already? Are there any in the public domain, these type of offtake agreements or contracts being signed?
Not in Europe at the moment, and I suppose the thing that my observation is that I think many of us, and myself included, rather expected that those partnerships would be taken up by Asian groups. What we're actually finding at the moment is that the real interest, and probably the most sensible interest in many ways, is really coming from European groups. So we hope to be the first group to sign a sort of a major offtake or a major investment agreement for spodumene lithium here in Europe.
As you might imagine, a lot of questions around Tesla. My understanding was Tesla, are they building one of their big giga plants in Europe? Is that part of the plan? And if so, any relationship or contact with Tesla?
We have been talking to a series of OEMs. Really can't talk about specific ones, but we've got sort of wide-ranging talks going on at the moment with a number of OEMs.
Next, another favourite from the last couple of years, Brexit. Any impacts on you or the firm?
Not really. This will be a Portuguese project, it's a European project. It's owned by a wholly owned subsidiary of ours, which is a Portuguese company. We believe that this will be a strategic asset for Europe, and it's being sort of warmly embraced by the European Union and the European Commission at the moment.
Cash. How much cash do you have at the moment, and how long is that going to see you for?
Yeah, we had 3.5 million pounds in cash as at last balance date, and sort of clearly we will require sort of further funding sort of going forward. But we've got a series of sources we're working to around that, including these sort of partnerships, grants from both the EU and in Portugal, and of course the usual range of sort of project financing and equity capital markets financing that might be available as well. So it's a dynamic, ongoing task for us.
Had a question here about kind of potential news flow for the rest of this year and next year. So I guess kind of the potential price inflection points or triggers for movement in share price. Can you just talk through kind of what you'd hope to see for news flow over the next, I guess, 18 months?
Well, I think probably the key one will be offtake, and I'm sort of hopeful that we'll see something appearing on that between now and the end of the year. I think the second key aspect will be investment. Again, I hope that we might see something there by the end of the year. And I suppose the other key milestone will be successfully sort of moving the EIA through the approval process to the award of environmental approval. So they're probably the three big ones.
And next one here about recyclability. Can lithium be recycled from existing batteries?
Technically it can, but commercially there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. But I think having regard to the fact that the life cycle of these batteries is something like 7 to 8 years, there's certainly a good deal of time for industry to wrap its mind around the challenges of recycling lithium. But I suppose the other aspect to it of all, of course, is that there's a real opportunity as well to sort of repurpose batteries, say for fixed storage. So I think it's one of those aspects that will be ultimately sort of resolved, and then you'll have a full sort of circular circular nature to the lithium cycle.
Thank you. And the question, when do you expect to see Portugal start to announce their plans for refining capacity?
Yeah, I think that really depends upon sort of industry announcements, and we certainly see that there will be refineries built in Europe, and it's certainly our hope that the first one of those will be built in Portugal, because we believe it makes eminent sense that a refinery should be built near the mine mouth, not actually at the mine, but certainly on the coast, perhaps somewhere near Porto in northern Portugal, on the coast of Portugal.
And there are other lithium projects in Portugal?
Indeed, but slightly different to ours, because they're involved with different lithium minerals, different flavors of lithium minerals, but spodumene lithium is the major internationally sort of traded lithium mineral. It's the most conventional of the lithium minerals, and it's probably the highest grade of that suite of lithium minerals as well.
Okay. Well, I appreciate giving a bit of an interrogation there, David. So thank you very much for answering all those questions. We kind of jumped from subject to subject, but thank you very much. Really interesting presentation. So we're going to say thank you for this evening, and turn your camera and your microphone off because we're out of time for now. So thank you, David.